Welcome to Resilience and Resolve with Lance Drury.
Welcome to Resilience and Resolve with attorney Lance Drury. For more than 30 years, Lance has helped individuals and small businesses regain control when IRS problems feel overwhelming. I'm Chelsea, and today we're talking about something that confuses and frustrates a lot of people: why IRS tax problems often seem to escalate right when someone is trying to fix them, and why that doesn't necessarily mean they're on the wrong path. Welcome back, Lance.
How you doing, Chelsea? It's good to see you. I don't think we've ever met before.
We're going to have a fun time with this topic, I think. What do you
Yes,
think?
we are. Yes, we are.
Well, let's dive right in. Many people reach out for help expecting things to calm down right away, right? Why do IRS situations often feel like they get worse before they improve?
Because here's the thing, the worst thing that you can do as a client, and I see practitioners do this all the time in initial consults with their clients because they want to impress them. But the worst thing to do, if you're not ready to settle the case or if there's not a deadline already in place, is to call the IRS.
Hmm.
You just put yourself on their radar. And then they give you unreasonable demands, make unreasonable deadlines. And guess what? Then, if you don't get stuff in 20 days, they're going to start the levy process. I had a guy once, he came to me, he owed about $40,000. He had about a year to go on the collection statute because the IRS doesn't have forever to collect the tax. Well, he called him up. He said, they told me I had 20 days to get the financials in. I said, you shouldn't have called him. He said, as soon as they answered, I knew I had screwed up. And so I could have saved him the 40,000. Let sleeping dogs lie. If there's no activity, he didn't do that and he knew he screwed up. And then he never hired me after that because money was a problem for him. But, he could have just skated, saved himself $40,000, and he probably paid every last dime of that.
What typically happens behind the scenes once somebody starts filing, responding, or engaging with the IRS that causes this sense of escalation?
Well, exactly what I said. If there's no deadline in place, and if you're not ready to resolve the case and you just call them up to say, hey, I'm working on this, I'll get with you, they'll just start giving them unreasonable deadlines and make unreasonable demands. And they wouldn't have done that if you had not called them up. And so that's what escalates it, because when you call them up for anything short of a resolution, you're just putting yourself on their radar, and then they start coming after you, and then they're going to keep track of you. And so that's what happens is things escalate once you call them up.
You've talked about deadlines and timing a few times. How does timing play a role in enforcement actions showing up even when someone is finally taking the right steps?
Well, here's the thing, you don't want to call them up because then they're going to give you time limitations. But there are some, and some people call them up because what happens is the IRS goes through a sequence of letters before they can levy you. They can't just come out and levy your bank account, take 90% of your take home pay. Back in 1998, they changed the rules, and now they got to give you prior notice before they levy. So you get on that clock, and you they give you, and you never know when the next letter's coming because they're a bureaucracy. There's no rhyme or reason. But when that last letter comes, you've got 30 days. And if you don't respond within that 30 days with the proper legal paperwork, they can wipe out your bank account. They can take 100% of your 1099s. They can take 15% of your Social Security. But if it goes in your bank account, they can take 100%, and they can take up to 90% of your take home pay. Obviously, if you have some exemptions, you fill out the form, it won't be 90%. But guess what? You got 2 kids, you get the exemptions down to 50%. How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to feed your kids?
Hmm. You've seen people panic, and I'm feeling panicked even during this conversation, but you've seen people panic when new notices arrive after they've started addressing the problem. Can you share a situation where that reaction almost led to someone making everything worse?
I could absolutely give you one situation where it was totally the guy totally screwed up. He hires me. He owes about 40,000 plus in liability to the IRS. So he hires me and we get him into currently non-collectible, which means that because of financial hardship, we proved he doesn't have the ability to pay any of it back. Uh, he gets into currently non-collectible. We get him a resolution. Case is closed. It doesn't go away. You got to run out the clock on collections. And we tell him, we send him a letter that says, look, you're going to get a yearly reminder from the IRS, and that reminder is going to say that you owe the tax. But they're not coming after you. It's just a yearly reminder. They're not going to wipe you out. They're not going to get levies on you. Well, the guy gets that letter, the yearly reminder, doesn't call me,
Mm.
calls the IRS and agrees to pay every last dime back of the 40,000 plus dollars that he owes. And so then he calls me and I said, what happened? And he goes, I just panicked. I said, why didn't you call me? But he didn't call me. And so he stuck with it and he had to pay it all back. I mean, that was a huge mistake. And that happens all the time. People think they can do this on their own. It's confusing. It's complicated to the average individual. The IRS takes advantage of lay people, and everybody says, oh, I can do this on my own.
Mm.
Let me tell you something, Chelsea. When I was a small town lawyer, it was 15 hours of continuing legal education a year. Now, me and all my other lawyers, 7 other lawyers right now, we spend 50 to 100 hours a year at a minimum just keeping up with this stuff.
Wow.
They're a bureaucracy, things are constantly changing. And Chelsea, I got to tell you something else. You don't want to deal with them because the IRS, the only thing as bad as the IRS is the Postal Service. And I'm sure you know how bad the Postal Service is right now.
We have not gotten a lot of letters that we were supposed to. But why is it important not to confuse this short-term pressure with long-term direction when dealing with the IRS?
Well, you can't respond. You can't panic. I know people, it's natural. I've had clients, they've come to me, they sit down, they're shaking, and they have all these letters by certified mail. And the woman goes, I can't open them anymore. So she throws them at me. So she says, open them for me and let me know what's going on. So I do it. None of those certified letters are good business. So the thing is, don't panic, get it under control, hire a tax professional. They can buy you time, they can do all kinds of things to get you the best deal possible and get you on a plan that you can afford. Just because you owe the tax doesn't mean you're going to have to pay all of it back. 85 to 90% of our clients never pay back the full amount, and they'll never tell a layperson this, it's all based on your ability to pay. So it's a lot of work for the taxpayer. It's a lot of work for us. We have to go through financial statements, bank statements, credit card statements, debit card statements, because we have to prove to the satisfaction of the IRS that you don't have the ability to pay this back. And that's what we do every single day.
How do automated IRS systems contribute to this feeling that the situation might be spinning out of control?
Well, they do have automated systems, and a lot of their notices are computer generated. They're automatic. There's not a human being behind that. Or they see something on your tax returns, they have different algorithms, and they'll spit out a letter of this, and people just panic about it. Any letter people get from the IRS, they freak out about. So, yeah, their automated systems really start the process, but you don't want to panic over this. Get yourself professional help. The problem can be handled, and it can be handled in a way that's satisfactory to the taxpayer that the taxpayer can afford.
You've mentioned it's important to stay calm and not panic. What mistakes do people make when they do react emotionally and panic instead of staying focused on the long term overall strategy?
Well, here's the most important one that I see all the time, and I know this because people tell me this after they call the IRS. They call the IRS, they tell them they want to set up a payment plan, they think they can do it on their own. So the IRS sets them up on the payment plan, but it's for every last penny they owe,
Mm,
including all the penalties and interest, which are really onerous. They're lay people. They don't tell them how the game is played. They just take as much money from them as possible. And the reason I know this is people come to me and they say, I can't afford this plan I set up. And I go, then why did you do this? And they go, well, this is what the IRS said I had to do. I said, that's not true. They're lying to you. It's all based on your ability to pay it back, and they're not telling you that.
mm.
They're just going to set you up on that plan. And so, of course, then they hire me at that point, and we renegotiate their agreement with the IRS and get them something they can afford.
How does having this clear plan change the way someone might be feeling or experience this getting worse phase?
Well, I think once we have the plan and we explain all that and we go through the process and calm them down about certain notices, because sometimes they get a notice, they think the IRS could levy from it and they can't because it doesn't give them their appeal rights. But I wouldn't know that if I was just a lawyer in another field, because that's exactly what the letter says. But that's why they need a professional to tell them that. But once they have that plan in place, once they get that professional help, they're going to be on the straight and narrow. And one of the things we do, I told somebody this the other day, when you're a lawyer, you're not just a lawyer, you're their minister, you're their psychiatrist. And people are going up against probably the most terrifying agency in the federal arsenal. And it just scares the holy bejesus out of people. If they show up on their doorstep, they'll hire me. I said, I don't know if you want to hire me given my fees. They said, we don't care how much we have to pay you. We never want to have to talk to them directly again.
Mm.
So get help, get somebody who knows what they're doing, get somebody that does this every single day, get somebody local. Don't hire one of the big boys. There's a lot of scam artists out there. And get an attorney that does this every single day. Accountants are great with the numbers, but they just dabble in this stuff. And so all my attorneys have seen accountants give bad advice to their clients about IRS related matters. So do all that and you'll be just fine.
For someone listening who feels discouraged because things maybe seem to be intensifying, what should they understand about where they actually are in this whole process?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's hard to say every factual situation is different, but they don't want to panic. They don't want to call the IRS. They need to call a tax professional. We're a 4.7 Google reviews in St. Louis, 4.9 Google reviews in Nashville, Tennessee. We have offices in Texas. I have an attorney in Florida as well. And Chelsea, I know this surprises you, but I'm in the prime of my life. We're still growing the business. We got to be doing something right because we keep getting more clients all the time. So give us a call. We'll get you out of your situation with Uncle Sam.
Excellent. Well, I learned a lot today. I was a little panicked, but now I feel like I'm okay. So thank you so much, Lance.
Great to see you, Chelsea.
And thank you everyone for listening to Resilience and Resolve with Lance Drury. IRS problems don't resolve instantly, and early pressure doesn't mean you're failing. It often means the process is finally moving. If you're dealing with IRS issues and want steady guidance before reacting to the next notice, visit lancedrurylaw.com. Be sure to like, leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.